everybody, welcome to Monday morning Pilates Fusion, Yoga Pilates Fusion. So we're going to start in the customary way, lying down so we can do a little bit of breath awareness. And again, I'm going to do this with something under my back so I get this kind of opening in the chest. Now, if you would rather start a different way, you certainly can, and then you can just join us for that part if for whatever reason it's tricky. What I'm going to use today is a blanket, and this is just a simple, I got this at some little shop in Arizona, like you can get them at truck stops, just a simple little striped Mexican blanket. They're about the size of a double bed on the top. So that is the size blanket that I'm dealing with. So if you have a bigger blanket or a thicker blanket, you might roll it up a few less times. But I'm essentially just going to roll it a couple of times so that I get about like 6 or 7 inches wide and then long enough to go down the length of my spine. And that for me generally makes a pretty good kind of place to start for this purpose. And it's about the same if you can buy these things online called pranayama bolsters that are pillows made for this purpose. They're just little skinny yoga pillows, but you can do that just as easily with a blanket. Okay. Now, if you want to use yoga blocks or something else, you can. It's your house. Do what you want. You can also not do anything. So I'm putting the blanket about the bottom of my rib cage so my low back has enough room to curve the way it normally would. Then I snuggle my shoulder blades up underneath me. And I like the arm to just sort of fall about where the arm would if I were standing up. Because it gets a little deeper into the shoulder. So it won't stretch my chest muscles very much, per se, but, or at least I won't feel it there. But what it does do is it readjusts the rotator cuff and the other shoulder support muscles. So that for me is kind of it's subtle, but kind of powerful as well. If I took my arms out wider, I would start to feel it through the pectoralis major muscle, the chest muscle. And if that's tight, that might be the choice to make. So right now I've got my feet in this constructive rest. I'm feeling inclined to stay like that. You could also straighten the legs or put your feet together with your knees open so that you've got a little butterfly shape, which is a nice way to kind of work. If your adductors are a little tight, you can work that way. Ooh, and then the practice is to try to free a little bit of the same space with the breath. So we're going to breathe nice and big, try to get the intercostal muscles between the ribs moving. And use up your lung capacity. And try to get some movement going as you breathe. I'm going to do about 3 more breaths this way, just trying to get my rib cage moving and my breath as deep as possible. Now I'm going to take myself off the blanket So I've done a little bit of that work to sort of free up some space around my back and shoulders. And then I just like to see how it went. So does it feel like my shoulders have kind of released back? Is there kind of an interesting impression? There's usually a little impression left behind that I enjoy, kind of massaging over. It's just a little tissue change there in my upper back. So in any case, hopefully that's pleasant for you. We're going to do a little bit of work for the shoulders this morning. So make sure that your Halloween pumpkin collection is not in your way, and you can take your arms up over your head without running into anything. So, starting the legs out in constructive rest, reaching the arms down beside the hips, pinkies down, thumbs up, so the palms face toward each other. We're going to reach down, almost like you're trying to grab your ankles, but we're not. We're just going to keep reaching as you bring the arms all the way up overhead. Here you're reaching toward the ceiling. As you come all the way over your head, you're reaching overhead as far as it'll let you go, all the way to your thumbs if it'll let you. Come all the way back up. Continuously reaching through the arms, coming all the way back to start. And we're just going to do that 3 more times. Stretching the arms over the head, nice and slow, so you feel all of the muscles shifting in the arms and the shoulders as you move along. Make any notes of any places that feel a little extra tender or sticky. And you can work with those when we get to the next bit. One more time for me, all the way up and over. And all the way back. Now we're going to bring the arms back to chest height. You're going to grab one arm. So I'm going to take my right hand and grab my left arm. And I'm going to pull my left arm across my body to the right. Now, you might find that a different angle works better. So you're going to play with, like, should my arm be up closer to my face or down closer to my abdomen? And pull the arm across with your hand. So my right arm is pulling on my left arm. And then my left shoulder blade, I'm going to try to slide back down underneath me or onto the floor. So there's resistance that's happening. So my right arm is preventing that shoulder blade from moving completely, but I'm still engaging all of the muscles that live around that shoulder blade to try to get it back into place. And so the angle might matter as to how it feels. This is one of my favorite things. But in any case, we're going to take 2 more breaths. Hopefully it's working for you. All right, so I'm going to let myself keep going. So I'm just going to pull myself all the way over onto my right side. I'm going to put something under my head. In this case, I'm going to use this blanket I had earlier. And then I'm going to make sure that I can draw a circle with my arm without running into any furniture, okay? So the part of this that's the trickiest, there's some nerves that come out of the neck and go through the shoulder, right in kind of between the collarbone and the shoulder blade and the head of the arm bone. So in this this area, like up front, all the way up to about the ear, you're generally going to be okay. But from the ear back and around to the diagonal point, that can be a little tricky. So if you need to lift your arm a little higher up, do that so that there's no pinching or numbness or tingling. So we're going to stretch the arm around and bring it back nice and easy. Stretch the arm around. Bring it back nice and easy. We're going to do it one more time. All right, so now we're going to take this into a twist. So I'm going to use the arm just as the kind of pathway, and I'm going to roll my whole upper back down. Sometimes I have to give it a little extra with this a spare elbow here. You can wrap your legs one around the other. You can stack them up. You can throw a block or a blanket in underneath there so that it pulls a little bit more through your hip. And then try to anchor that shoulder to the ground so there's a nice stretch through the big chest muscles here. Maybe a little bit along this side waist. If you lower the hip a little bit. So just finding this nice kind of release here in the twist. You don't have to be aggressive. Just find the right amount for you. I'm going to do 3 more breaths here. All right, so then I'm going to bring myself back to the center. So I'm coming all the way back around. Oh, give that left arm a little shimmy. And then just for a moment, notice, is there any difference between your left side and your right? So we're going to float the legs up so that the knees wind up just about above the pelvis or right above, just below the belly button. You can lift the feet up just a little bit, or you can bring the feet in closer. Decide how that makes your low back feel. Arms are stretched out. You can put the palms down or up. Just press the arms into the floor. Take your legs over to one side. I'm starting with the right side. And then you can either curl the knees in, straighten out just the top leg curl and the right leg, in this case, underneath, or straighten both legs out, bringing the feet up towards the right hand. And we're going to come back to the middle, lift the pelvis up, come to the other side, and choose one of those options. You might be restricted by the amount of space you have, so just choose an option that's going to work for your space limitations. Or the one that works best for your low back, whatever the answer is. So it might feel easier at this point to twist one direction than the other. Notice that. Ooh, and we'll come back to that other side in a moment. So we're going to do 2 more sets of this little movement pattern. I've got 1 more set. All right, so when I get to the middle, I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to take my legs over to the left. And I traveled down my mat a ways. Hold on. I got to come up a little higher. So legs over to the left side. Now, if you went to the left side last time, you'll go to the right. It's just whatever's the opposite. And then I'm going to start with the twist here. Excuse me. So my top leg might wrap around the bottom one. I might just stack them up. Oh, I'm going to anchor the shoulder to the ground. And then you can adjust your head position, looking either direction or up to the top, up to the center. Whichever's going to work better. I'm going to take 2 more breaths here. And then I'm going to bring my right arm all the way back because I'm going to do those little shoulder circles on this side. Oh, just making sure you've got a clear pathway. Support your neck so the bottom arm is out straight, and then this top arm is going to make this circle pattern. And again, this kind of bottom half of the circle is where things get a little tricky. Be kind to yourself there. Coming all the way up and over. Stretch through the arm all the way up and over. Ooh, we're going to do that twice more. Now leaving your arm across, roll back onto your back, grab that arm with your other hand and pull it as you try to draw that shoulder blade back down into the floor or into your back, whichever one of those. It seems like it's getting the best kind of planting. We're going to let go of the arm, give it a little rinse, a little shake. Oh. And then just for a moment, place both arms about even with each other and see if there's a difference. So we did one movement pattern in one direction and then we switched it, went backwards on the other side. Does it make a difference in your arms? So it's kind of a fun thing to notice. Then when you're practicing on your own, if you like one a little bit more than the other, you can keep that one in your toolbox and use it again. All right, yogis, we're gonna take the right leg and bring it in. You're gonna take the left leg and stretch it out. So reach out through that left leg while you're kind of hanging out here. Just gonna give that left hip flexor a little stretch. If you can hold onto the right leg, do. Otherwise, just bring the leg in toward you and then spin your right foot in nice big circles. Get the ankle joint going the opposite direction when you can. We're going to point and flex. Now we're going to flex the foot back and see if we can straighten the leg up some. Oh, it might not want to go all the way straight. Cuddle it in. You can let go of it as you like so that you can feel that stretch in your hamstrings. In the middle of the muscle is where we're going for, not right up against your sit bone or right at the back of your knee. So change the leg position as needed and then feel that sensation. And then one more time, we're going to hug the leg in and then extend the leg out straight. Oh. So you're going to let go of the leg. You can reach up toward the legs. So we're going to reach up. So I'm kind of curling that little extra bit to get that little extra bit of lift and curl here with the double straight leg stretch is what it's usually called in Pilates, and some people call it scissors. Now, if you tend to overuse your neck, you can do this with the hands behind the head. So you'll switch the legs, curl up, switch the legs, curl up. Just keep pressing your head back into your hands so you're forced to do that little curl with your abs. Stretch through both legs. Steady and rhythmic. Two more sets. Now you're going to grab hold of your left leg. You can take the right leg and stretch it all the way out. Give that right leg a nice long reach and spin the left foot in circles while you're stretching out your right hip flexors a little bit. Ooh. Go in the opposite direction with the ankles, circles. And then at some point, pointing and flexing your foot. All right, yogis, we're gonna flex the foot and then see about that leg going up straight and then hug it in. Flex and see if the leg will go out straight and then hug it in. Flex the foot, reach out. We're gonna do that one more time. Hug it in. All right, stretch it all the way out. So you're gonna bring your legs in together, hugging both knees toward the chest. Curl your torso so that your shoulder blades are lifted up off the floor. And again, if you tend to pull with your neck, you can put your hands behind your head, steady the neck nice and stable, and then find that movement with your abdominals. You can stick just the legs out and bring them back. Put the arms out also and either curl them up or bring them back behind your head so you've got that little support, okay? Curl in. Try to hold the torso nice and stable. So we're working with more resistance and then less. Holding stable. Hugging the sides of your waist. Okay, last one. When you bring your knees back in, you can put your head back down, put your legs down, give yourself a little rinse. So, in one way or another, we're going to get ourselves to a seated position. So, if you love rolling like a ball, you could roll like a ball. If you love doing the roll up, you could do the roll up. So, we're going to do about 6 or so of something that gets us kind of moving in that direction. So whether that's the slow roll up, or the more exciting rolling like a ball, is up to you, y'all. Whee! I like rolling like a ball, I think, because there's a boat pose at the top. When you've done 6 of those, you can come all the way up to all fours. And do some rounds of cat or something like that to kind of rinse out your back. Now, after you've done some work with the cat pose, we're going to do a little bit of work with a spinal balance. If you're not quite here yet, just take your time. Come on back. So we're going to hug in the sides of the waist. We're going to take one leg out and the opposite arm with it, and then we're going to curl those in, kind of round the back, and stretch it out. Curl it in, stretch it out. Curl it in, stretch it out. We're going to bring it all the way through. So we're going to take this leg out to the diagonal, bring it forward. So we wind up in a lunge. And I'm going forward to the point where I feel a nice stretch through the front of the hip. And then I'm going to go backward, getting close to a hamstring stretch here, but not all the way. So feel the hip, and then back it up. Feel the hip. Back it up. So we're going to do it one more time, but we're going to stay a little bit. So coming into this lunge, we're going to add a little twist. So you could, if you want to, bring your foot up and grab hold of it. Otherwise, you can just turn to the side. Now, for me, that gives me just a little bit more of a sense of stretch right there on that hip flexor, so be kind to yourself. One more breath here. And then I'm going to come out of the twist, ease my hips back until I've got a bit of a hamstring stretch. You might need to stay up a little higher. You can put some blocks under your hands. I'm putting both hands on the inside, taking that leg all the way back, giving a little stretch, a little shake, and then bringing the leg down. Just pausing for a moment. You can do a few rounds of cat, but notice if one side's a little different than the other. So we're going to take that opposite leg out. So hug in the sides of the waist, opposite leg, opposite arm. So my left leg, right arm in this case. And then we're going to curl in, stretch it out, curl it in. Maybe your knee will come all the way up to your forehead. I don't know. Check it out, stretch it out. Bring that leg all the way forward. And again, we're going to take ourselves through this lunge. So moving the hips forward. Maybe one hip's a little more forgiving than the other. One might be a little tighter. Bringing the hips forward. And backing things off. Okay, so I'm going to do this one more time with this little back off, and then I'm coming in and I'm going to stay put and add my twist. So you can adjust your twist as you like. I'm keeping mine a little bit more upright, but you can certainly bring your elbow around or grab hold of that back foot. Last breath here. And then we're going to come around and straighten out this leg and see how far over it you can go. I made it sound like a creaky hinge just now. It's getting spooky around here in lots of ways, more ways than one. A few more breaths here. Okay, so I'm going to take that out to the diagonal, give it a little shake, and then coming back to that all fours position. You can do a couple little rounds of cat if you like. Notice how it feels, and then when you're ready, if your downward dog is something you can do, if it feels like an okay pose for you, we'll take this to downward dog. If for whatever reason downward dog's not your jam, you can go directly to a standing position of whatever ilk will work for you. If you are a lover of downward dog, use a few moments, like you can move things around, walk your heels up and down, that sort of thing. And then when you've had enough downward dog, you'll come to a standing position. I'm going to do a standing forward bend for a moment. Because this feels pretty good to me. Now my hamstrings have a little bit more loose than my calf muscles. So when I'm doing downward dog, I'm mostly focusing on my calves. For you, it might be more hamstrings. So if you lift your torso up a little higher, you might find the spot where you can have straighter legs and feel that stretch all the way through the whole hamstring. Okay, so we're going to bend the knees so that the chest can rest on the thighs and the back releases. And then we're going to straighten out the legs, which might require that little bit of an extra lift. Right? So folding over, getting a nice release, and then straightening out the legs. And one more time, folding over. And then straightening out the legs, and we're going to come all the way up to standing. Oh, give it a big stretch. Okay, give everything a shake. And then when you're ready, meet me up at the top of your mat for a mountain pose. So we're going to turn the toes forward. Feet can be, like, I like mine hips distance. If you like your big toes to touch, you can do it that way. And then find yourself with the weight on the feet nicely and evenly distributed. And then grow taller and let your shoulders relax. Just standing for a moment and feeling, almost like memorizing the way this pose feels right now. You're going to take a nice big breath. Stretch the arms up. You're going to side bend over to your left. Grab your right wrist. Give yourself a little tug. Come in on back. We're going to take that left leg up and bring it straight up in front of you. You can straighten the leg or just hold the knee bent. Hold and steady if you can with that balance. Just holding that left leg aloft. Taking one more breath here. And then we're going to theoretically step this back into a high lunge without falling down. We're going to do our best. So I've got my hips pointing forward. I'm on the ball of this foot with the heel in the air. So that gives me a lot of freedom to kind of play with this. If there's any pain in the hip or the knee, do less. So we're going to try to straighten out both legs, sending this heel toward the ground, and then bend the knee and kind of bring the hip forward. Keep your spine nice and tall. and there might be a little less sensation there with the calf. So straightening out the leg, pressing the heel and the back toward the ground, bending the front knee. You can even bend this back knee a little bit if you like. And then one more time, straightening out both legs, sending the heel toward the ground, and then coming back. So we're going to fold forward, step back into down dog, or you can go directly to plank if that's more your speed. From plank, you'll lower down, come into a cobra or an upward dog, and come back to downward dog. Now we're going to take that left leg up with us, give it a little shimmy, a little shake, hook it up over the back side a little, then sink your right heel down. And then we're going to step that left leg forward and bring the right leg up to it. Come up halfway, exhale. If the legs will let you, stretch all the way down, and then come in all the way back up. Give it a nice big stretch. Ooh. Finding your mountain pose. Take a big breath. See if there's a difference. Arms reach up. We're going to grab that left wrist, give it a little stretch over to the right. We're going to come back to the center, lift that right knee up. Maybe straighten that leg, maybe leave the knee bent. Hold steady as best you can with the balance. And then we're going to try to step this thing back into our high lunge without breaking a tooth or anything else for that matter. Find an appropriate amount of lunge. You might have to wiggle a little. And then we're going to try straightening out the front leg, pressing the heel toward the ground. And then bend the knee and come back to the lunge shape. Straightening out, pressing the heel down. Oh, it's not, mine doesn't go all the way to the ground, but I get a little extra stretch there in that calf muscle Achilles area. Sending the heel down, be kind. Bend the knee, you might even bend that back knee a little bit if you like. And one more time. Then we're going to come back to this lunge. Hold it for a breath. Ooh, and step it back into down dog or go directly to your plank as you like. Oh. I like down dog. It gives me another one of those poses I can check in with. So from the plank, you'll do the vinyasa as you like, or skip it and go back to dog. So that right leg is coming straight up with us. And we're going to give it a good stretch. A little bit of a shake. Hook it over the back. Send the left heel down. And then step it as far forward as it goes in one step. Bring the left foot up to meet it. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold. And then we're coming all the way up. Giving it a big stretch. And then settling into that mountain pose. Ooh. And notice if there's a difference. So I love the way I just feel so much more kind of tingly and alive after one round. So notice that for yourself. So you get to choose a balancing pose. I'm going to do a version of the dancer that's a little bit tricky. I'm going to use a strap to do it. You can do the version of the dancer where you hold your foot behind you as you like. So you could also choose a tree pose or an eagle pose or anything else for that matter, any pose you like. Okay. So you're going to get your weight steady on your right foot and you're going to bring your left leg into whatever the version of the pose is that you're going to do. Now, I'm using a strap, so when I stop holding this balance, or if I lose my balance, the first thing I do is let go of the strap with my hands, okay? So if I don't stay here, I don't want to be locked up in this, tangled up in this strap if I fall. So 2 more breaths here. All right, so I'm going to step back into Warrior 2 after a brief de-strapping. So you'll go there as well. Once you land, make sure you like the way your legs are positioned so you and your hips are going to get along. And then we'll come back to reverse warrior. and over to side angle. So we've got that kind of mermaid action of stretching through the torso, stretching through the torso. Ooh. I like to inhale one side and exhale the other. Try to hold your legs nice and steady, kind of press them away from one another on the mat. Oh, that feels so good. One more time. All right, we're gonna morph this into a triangle. So I make a small adjustment and then I kind of play with the pose. If I go down lower, this becomes a song about my hamstrings. Whereas if I come up a little higher, I have more access to a twist. Here in the spine, more access to lengthening. So rather than kind of hunching, I can get some length in my side waist. So experiment with your pose. See where it takes you. Ooh, I'm gonna take 2 more breaths. And then I'm gonna bend the knee. I'm gonna start with this wide angle. So I'm wrapping myself around, turning my toes. I've done one side, but I haven't done the other. So this is just giving me a little touch point. So I'm gonna fold in here. I like to release my neck while I'm here. And then I'm noticing that there's a lot of difference between the way my right leg feels and my left. Right hip, left leg, left hip. Now, if you're a person that likes to go directly to plank, then what you'll do, take 1 more breath and then go into plank. I'm gonna go into down dog. So you could just step it back, or rotate it around. And notice where that dog kind of lands. And then you can throw in a vinyasa if you like, or leave the vinyasa out of it and just do downward dog. Oh. We're gonna take that left leg up. Oh, we're gonna circle it. So you're gonna bring the leg in and then circle it open. Bring it in, circle it open. You can do this from a standing position as well if you like. Reach it back, step it forward, and then we're gonna step that right foot up to meet it. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold. All the way to standing. Nice big stretch. Whew. And we'll find that mountain pose again. Right there. At the top of the mountain. Oh. So I'm noticing the differences in the one hemisphere versus the other. And then we're going to set ourselves up for whatever balancing pose we did last time. We're going to do it on this side. I keep getting my little toe stuck. Let's just help it. All right. So we're just putting the weight on the left leg, and the right leg is going to come into the balance. Two more breaths if we can do it. All right, so we're gonna step back into warrior 2. It wasn't too bad. We're gonna come on back to reverse warrior when you're ready. Get your hips steady first. Oh. And then just flow between these 2 points. Do that twice more. And then I'm going to turn that into my triangle. Feeling your way through your triangle. Maybe today one shoulder's a little tighter than another, or you need to stay a little higher, a little lower on one leg. But just for the leg, ooh, 2 more breaths. And again, we're going to kind of slither this around into our wide angle. You can turn the toes out a little bit rather than in, if that's better. Just feel it with your knees and your hips. Ooh. If folding all the way down doesn't feel good, stay halfway. Stay with the spine level and parallel to the floor. And then we're going to turn this into either a plank or a downward dog, whichever one you like better. We're going to come forward, into plank if you haven't already. We're going to lower all the way down. Okay. So we're going to start with the hands up nice and high, legs planted, nice and firm. So my fingertips are above the top line of my shoulder. And then I'm going to press the palms down and use my back muscles to lift, lengthen through the legs, press down, draw the elbows back. Okay? Slide the hands back about 1 inch. Press the palms down, draw the elbows back, lift and lengthen through the legs. So we're getting some nice cobras going. Slide the hands back, press the palms down, lift, and then we're going to lift the legs and reach back through them. Try to get that torso up if you can. Keep your neck happy. 2 more breaths. All right, we're going to float down. Reach the right arm up so you can roll onto your right side. Now that gives me a little pillow for my head, it's my arm. If you need something else under your head, you can do that. A block or a blanket like we did earlier. Hips stack on top of each other. Shoulders stack on top of each other. I'm going to hug in through the sides of my waist a little bit to try to hold my torso nice and steady. And then the legs are going to do several different things. We're going to start with a circle. So we're going to externally rotate the femur, the thigh bone. So you're going to turn the whole leg so that the heels come together but the toes stay separate. If you want to make this a little more challenging, elevate both legs slightly off the floor and then try to hold your torso completely stable with your abs. If you let that bottom leg rest on the floor, just right in that place, that's a nice medium amount of support. If you were to bend the bottom knee and bring it a little bit wider out front, that gives you a lot more stability. So choose the amount of stability you need in order to maintain, but also challenge yourself through the core. Okay, so we're going to start with a direction. Just circle that leg, hold and steady, and try not to get jiggly at all. In the abdomen area, you can put your arm up front if that helps. It definitely helps me. Squeeze in. Feel yourself drawing the sides of your waist in. We're going to do 2 more. 2. All right, pausing there. We're going to internally rotate. So we're going to bring the big toes toward each other, turning at the thigh. You should notice that like this little greater trochanter, this bone section that sticks out on the side of the hip, that should become more prominent. You know, a little bit, some people's are bigger than others, but as with everything, but a little more prominent. You might even feel that wrapped around. So we're going to hold that steady and try to circle the opposite direction, if you can remember what that was. If not, just make a circle. Try to hold that internal rotation. And again, you can elevate that bottom leg if you need to make this more challenging, but for me, just trying to hold the jiggle completely still is a good challenge. Lift through the sides of the waist. We're going to do 3 more, 2 more, last one, and then bring the legs back together. Okay, so this gives us a little kind of internal, external hip rotator work. We're going to keep that and add just a little bit more to it. We'll add some abductor work. So bring in the feet up with the knees together, feet together. We're going to open the knees, okay? Then you might just hold for a beat and bring it back together. Open, hold, bring it back together. Or you can add on to that by extending the leg, bring in the toes and the knees back together, okay? So choosing the thing that's not going to bother your knee or cause any trauma for your hip, but will challenge you to hold steady and work these muscles that live all around this thigh and hip. So we're going to do 5 more, if we can. Two more. Okay, so when you've gotten that last one done, come back to the legs resting on the floor. Take the top leg across, just kind of press it out. So you can leave it straight. You can bend at the knee and put the knee on the ground if that's better, depending on how your bones are structured. One will feel better than the other, or you can put your foot on the ground, which is my preference. The danger here is that you'll push your hip backwards, so just be mindful of keeping the hip nice and steady. We're going to lift the leg that's on the bottom, so in my case this is the right leg, and then we're going to pulse that leg up, keeping it lifted just a little bit higher with the pulsation, lifting it 10, 9, 8, 7. See if you can feel that deep in your belly where those hip flexors live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it there for 10, 9. Don't let that leg drop. 7, 6, 5, 4. Lift a little higher. 2, 1. And then we're going to come on down. All right, yogis, we're going to roll onto our back. So we're going to come around and roll onto the back. Take just a moment. You can do a couple little windshield wipers if you like. So we're going to do some leg lowers. So there's a couple of different positions that you can place your body in. You can put your hands behind your head and curl the shoulders up off the mat and press the head back. And then you're going to control the movement of your torso with your abdominal muscles. We want to keep the spine in a position where the low back curve stays in its neutral place. We're not trying to unwind the low back curve. We're trying to hold it steady. So that's one option. Second option is to place the hands down beside you, or you can put your hands just slightly underneath. And then you're going to press the shoulders down into the mat, shoulder blades, and then you're going to hug in through the sides of the waist and try to really control that abdomen. And this just is a little bit kinder for some of us on our low back. Trying to keep the head up might cause the hip flexors just a little bit more, if you have really long legs, it can be tricky. It's a big lever. So it can cause your low back to have some trickiness. So we're going to lift the legs, squeeze them together. If you want, you can put a block or something in between. That works really nicely in my world. But otherwise, squeeze your heels together, spread the toes out. Now again, we're going to anchor everything. So I'm hugging in through the sides of my waist, holding my low back nice and steady, lowering the legs down for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come back, okay? So hug in through the sides of your waist as you're holding that shape. Lower. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. Lower. 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. Lower. 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. 2 more. Lower. 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. Last round. Lower. 3, 2, 1, hold. 3, 2, 1, come back. Bend your knees. Give yourself whatever little rinse you might need. Sort of like a boat pose. It's kind of like a boat pose. It has boat pose elements. And then you're going to roll onto your left side, or whichever is your other side. Get your hips positioned, shoulders positioned aligned, squeeze in through the sides of your waist. Externally rotate the legs so the toes point away from each other. And then we're going to lift that leg and circle it, trying to hold steady now and keep the hip and the torso really stable so there's not a lot of jiggle. Ooh. No more so than necessary anyway. 2 more. 1 more. And then pause, and then we're gonna internally rotate that top leg. And again, not letting it drag us over, holding the hip steady, but finding as much internal rotation as we can get. And then circling the leg. Ooh, hold it steady. Draw in through the sides of your waist. 3 more, 2 more, 1 more, and we come together. So we're gonna bring the feet back, lift the heels, lift the feet, knees are together and on the ground to start. Open, either hold for a beat or extend and come back. We're gonna do 3 more of these. Last one. All right, so we're gonna stretch the legs out. This leg is gonna come over the top. Place it in whatever way works best for you. Make sure your hips are still level. Lift that bottom leg. We're sending it up a little pulsation for 10, 9, 8, 7. Keep your steadiness. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now lift it nice and high. Lift your side waist. Hold it steady there for 10, 9. Don't let that thing drop. 7, 6, 5. A little higher. 3, 2, 1. Put it down. We're rolling onto our backs, yogis. Oh, and this is where you can do like some happy baby or something like that. Oh, a little, I like these little windshield wipers because it's time for a final relaxation. What? That's right, yogis. That's what time it is. It's time for us to relax, let our nervous system have some alone time, some adult time. So if you have to go, I understand, but in the chat section, if you'll just leave me a little note saying you were here so I can count everybody, that would be awesome. But if you can stay, stay, because it's good for your nervous system. And it probably needs all the help it can get these days. So I put a little support under my legs because that makes this more comfortable. So I have that little blanket under there. That's my hip flexors let go. My low back loves me more. Snuggle the shoulder blades in wherever they feel good. And then, let your body relax. So I scan from the top down usually. Sometimes I'll switch it up. But if it feels better to you to start at your toes, start there. But you're gonna progressively travel through your body and relax muscle. So I'm starting with the top of my head. So I'm just noticing the muscles that live along the sides of my scalp and my forehead. And relaxing those. And then the eyes themselves, I'm letting my eyes get a little heavier. And relaxing my mouth and the lips, a little fluffier, a little softer through the neck. And then I come to the shoulders, I just notice, like, do I need a little adjustment? Should I bend the elbows? Should I put my hands over my heart or on my torso in some way? Just pick a position for your arms that's relaxed for you. Relax the chest muscles and the navel area. Feel your hip flexors let go and sort of slide backwards into the body. Relax the tops of the thighs and then around the back of the thigh and the calf muscles. And let your toes relax. And then just pause right here. Let yourself kind of feel grateful for your practice and for another day. And also just let go. Take a moment, just notice that your body is breathing. And take a breath all the way down to your big tippy toes. And let go with an ah. You can start to wiggle and stretch. Oh. Not losing our gentle vibes yet, but at some point when you're ready, you can give yourself a big old stretch through the whole body. And then, oh, it might be nice to bring your knees in and give your favorite yogi a little hug and a back massage. Oh. And then, oh, come on up when you're ready. Thank you for joining me for some Yoga Pilates Fusion on a Monday morning. Let's take a big old breath together. Nice big inhale. Big sigh. Namaste, yogis. Welcome to the rest of your day.